Welcome to the Western Washington Church of God meeting up in Kent. And it's so great to have all of you with us. I need to let you know that at some point we are being taped, audio. We also may be streamed live here pretty quick if we can get the thing up and running. Right. So we've got a pretty modified, simple agenda today. What we're going to do is, if you see your handouts here, we're going to go ahead and sing a song this morning. Then we're going to do the Shema, the modified version of it on the front page there. You see where typically what I do is I say a little, so it says leader there, and then you guys all join in with me. That's about as much ritual as we're going to do today. It's about as ritualistic as we get. And then Anthony's going to speak to us. We're going to break and have some snacks and fellowship time. And then we're going to come back and sing another song. And Anthony's going to do a Q&A or something like that. Kind of informal, kind of whatever feels right, that's what we'll do. I would like us to also go around the room real quick after we've sung and do an introduction. Yeah. And get to at least know. I wouldn't have name tags. We do have name tags.
You have name tags outside the door there.
Very few people have utilized that. But that's all right.
They look just like this? Like that?
They are designer blue and white. Well, so we are the Western Washington Church of God. We are a little church with a big message. We want everybody to know why they exist. We want everybody to know why human beings are here. What is our purpose? What is our destiny? And that, of course, is one of the big messages that Anthony Buzzard has been giving to the public out there for decades now. So anyway, we'll do some introductions. Let's all stand and let's sing that first song stapled there called "The Glorious Day Is Coming." Is a little bit of music. Oh, it kicked me out.
Good time to turn off your cell phones if you haven't done that already.
Good before I had
Yeah.
to tell my girlfriend to go on live stream.
That glorious day is coming. The hour is hastening on. His radiant light is nearing, far brighter than the sun. In yonder clouds of heaven, the Savior will appear and gather all His chosen to meet Him in the air. Then all the saints victorious will go to meet their Lord. On earth both bright and glorious will then be their reward. And God Himself their reigning will wipe all tears away. Nor clouds nor night remaining, but one eternal day. O Christian, keep from sleeping, and let your love abound. Be watchful, prayerful, faithful, the trumpet soon will sound. O sinner, hear the warning, to Jesus quickly fly, and you in that blessed morning may meet Him in the sky. Good job, everybody. Thank you. Let's bow our heads. Father in heaven, great God, Yahweh, the one and only true God, we are gathered here in the name of your Son, Jesus, Messiah. Very thankful to be living in a country where we can do this. We are so thankful that you are the kind of God that you are, that you want to make us your children. You've created us to be your children. You've got such great hope and destiny for all of us. to work with and under Jesus to transform this world into what you intended to be in the beginning. We look forward to that day when there'll be no more tears, no more sorrow, no more crying. And we'll just be rejoicing and filling the world with the knowledge of you and your Son in that day when it comes. We look forward to that day and the resurrection of the dead and the life of the age to come. And all these things we ask now for you to pour your Spirit out on the speaking and on the hearing, that we may grow and become the kind of children that you want us to be. In Jesus' name we pray this. Amen.
Amen.
Okay, so I thought it might be fun and helpful, and we have the time with this simple agenda that we've got today. Just sort of go around and introduce yourselves, where you're from, where you came from today, and then we'll ask Anthony and Carlos and Sarah to introduce themselves as we go. Let's start with our guest today. Let's do that first.
And then it will be lunchtime.
Then it will be lunchtime. So, Anthony, I think that everybody knows you. You want to say a few words about what you've been up to this weekend, and then we'll go around the room.
Yeah. We have been traveling. Actually, last weekend we were in the University of Southern Indiana, where we have a colleague, Brian Atra, who teaches world religions, and so we had 30, 50 students, 100 students altogether. The university is an interesting place because it's non-controversial. You can say mad things like, you believe that God is one, get away with it. In a university, you can't do that in church. So we've been traveling. Otherwise, I'm retired. My Georgia, kind of, my retroflect R, you linguist, my I retired from full-time teaching. I taught at the Atlanta, what used to be Oregon Bible College in Oregon, Illinois, since 1935. Moved with the job to 1992, I think. And then that's now Atlanta Bible College, ABC. Tiny number of students, allowed me time to write books and do other things. So my life is, Barbara and my wife's lives are framed by Scripture. People say, what are you doing here in the States? Is your brother here? No, I'm English, I'm British. You can tell I'm from Alabama, the way I speak. Right? I'd always get to laugh in the Methodist church, 400 Methodists falling about laughing. What, you're from Alabama? I don't think so. No. So one girl in Fayetteville said, what part of Alabama are you from? She hadn't been out of Fayetteville, that one. She didn't know. So you have fun with language, and it's just been fascinating. And honestly, the Bible has framed our lives. It really has. We're here only because of what down south they call the Bible. The Bible has done it. The Bible has done it. I have to translate for you guys. God's language is this fascinating thing. Anyway, so yeah, we're here. Internet has changed our lives. Totally. You've got an audience of 2.5 billion people out there. And with these very savvy people, I can barely switch on my cell phone. I can do it with difficulty. They can handle all these, whatever, I don't know the names of them. And this complicated material, by which you are being heard now and seen, potentially across the world. And probably Miranda in Scotland is listening. And Theodora in Romania was translating our stuff for love. Ex-Jehovah's Witnesses. That is fascinating to me. The background, the story, your stories, I can't wait to hear these stories. Just fascinating. Everybody's story is interesting. So that's what we do, and written a few books, and if I hadn't done that, I'd be very sad, because getting up to be 80 years old, if you haven't done nothing with your life, what are you going to say? So those books are out there. So you all write your books. Here we're talking to a naturopathic lady here. We need to not kill ourselves by what we eat. It's a wonderful subject. So write your books, and then you live on forever if the kingdom does. What's the phrase in religious circles? If the Lord tarries. If the Lord tarries, right? You live on through your books. This is the most exciting thing I can imagine to do, because your stories, as we're going to hear in a moment, are just very, very fascinating. It's enough.
Okay, then we'll get you back.
Yeah.
Carlos and Sarah, you want to tell us a little bit about
Please.
yourself?
Hi, name's Carlos. I come from Nicaragua. I left there in 1980. There was a not too civil war. My father was in the army that got toppled over. So I started country hopping, Costa Rica. I came here to California, and then we got asylum in Australia, Sydney of all places. So I grew up there. I've been in this country 5 years now. I met Anthony when I became a Christian at 33 years old. I was agnostic. I grew up secular, So yeah, but the time came. I think we'll get our time in God's Son to see the light, and happily He came at the right time. So I became a Christian. I started digging, reading the Bible for the first time, and then pretty quickly I came to the one God. And in Sydney, Australia, it's very secular. It's like France. So I started going online this is almost 10 years ago. And that's how I found Anthony, through other people. And then Anthony was nice enough to visit Sydney, visit with Craig Dybel. You might know him. They Never Told Me This in Church, a great book. So I found out other Unitarians. I met my wife, obviously. I met Barbara, my mother-in-law.
And the Pope.
The Pope. Well, that's a long story.
That's very short.
We travel a lot. I've been blessed. Obviously, you can see the difference here. I married way up. You can tell. And obviously, Anthony has been invaluable. He's father to many people around the world, from Peru, from Germany. We've gotten around, and I'm very thankful. So basically, we're here to share. I mean, this is the highlight of our lives, to travel, to be blessed, and meet people like you who are all miracles. The greatest miracle to us is to come to the knowledge of the Shema Israel. That's, to me, we can talk about spirit-filled things. Sorry, I got it. You can talk about the charismatas, you can talk about raising the dead, great. But I think the goal, as John 17:3 says, is to know the one who is true God and His Son, obviously. So we're here just to share and enjoy it.
Everything he said, yeah. I'm Sarah. I'm Anthony's daughter and Carlos's wife. I don't want to take any more time.
Keep going.
I've got a quick question, and I don't want you to get you any hot water. You don't have to answer. Does that mean you married down?
I guess if he's correct, then it does.
She's so humble.
I'm in the same situation, brother. I married up.
Speaking of the Shema, we forgot to turn all of the excitement. I forgot to do it. We normally let's grab these and let's just do that real quick, shall we? Okay, so ready to go? Here we go. Let's show Anthony what we do every week. Okay, hear, O Israel of God, the Lord our God, the Lord is one, and Jesus Christ is His Son. Thank you very much. Okay, David and Mary, why don't you guys get to
This is David and Mary Moss. We just local. We live up there over in Kirkland, and we've been working here with Robin for about 2 years.
David's been teaching the Bible study a couple different places. I actually was raised Catholic and used to get C+ in religion for fighting the nuns about the Trinity. So David introduced me to this idea, so I married up.
He's got a wonderful website too. What is it?
Well, I've taken it down for a while. There's some security and financial issues, but I'm going to be sometime in coming months. I'm going to launch a new one probably with a slightly different focus.
Okay.
So I'm Doug Sabrin. My wife Debbie's not here. She's watching 6 little boys. I was wondering if we didn't think that would be beneficial for us here. But she says hello to everybody. She wishes she could be here. And then my 2 boys, Christopher, are you going to stand up and say hi? Oh, you'll be favorite. And this is Christian. So no Chris and Chris, they have name tags. Christian, Christopher, and my mother-in-law Linda. We live down in Tacoma, and we're glad we're able to meet this group and be introduced to the Shema, the Lord our God is one. It's great.
Oh, I guess I'm next up if we're going this way. My name is Josh Madison. I came up from Vancouver with my mom here, and I've been a Christian like 25 years or so, something like that, since I was about 8-ish. And I came here to see what you guys are all about up here in Kent from the Vancouver area. And I had a question for Anthony when we get to the Q&A section. So.
That's great. Wow.
I'm Karen Hughes, and I came with my son Josh. I live in Mitchell, Washington.
I'm Leah Cooper. I go to the Columbia congregation in Washington. I live in Rochester, and I'm an ex-worldwide God.
Oh, yeah. We know.
Okay, so I'm Kevin Stanford. It's my wife Cindy. This is our first time to Kent or anywhere, actually, in the Scattered Brother. We are, I guess we first got associated with the Church of God in Kashmir, in Wenatchee. So Bill Wachtel and Rankin. And we met Anthony a number of years ago there, so we're pretty excited to find this group. We live in Renton, so not far away. And so thanks for your efforts in this hosting. We appreciate it.
Am I up? Sure. My name's Terry Mock. Yeah, this is my daughter Aubrey and my other daughter Tessa, I think it is. My wife's over there. Okay. We don't sit together for some reason.
The table seems full over there.
That's the adult table.
I guess so.
She likes to cause problems. You'll find out
Yeah.
later on. But we live here near Maple Valley. This is my sister, Kevin and Cindy.
No, not his sister, exactly.
Used to be. We'll talk about that later. Anyway, we've been going to Church of God forever. So over in Kashmir for a while and been over here for quite a few years. So my wife would probably tell you more details than I would. So.
Okay, all right. Ken?
Well, I'm Ken, and this is my wife Lori Walton, and we're from Olympia. And the brief story is we came out of the Assemblies of God Church after probably 40 plus years. And my wife, make it brief, my wife dug up one of Anthony's first books at an old bookstore, and I read it, and I've never been on board with the Trinity as long as I've been involved in the church. It always seemed like they would always say, it's just a mystery, you have to accept it. And so I was fairly confused for a long time. But anyway, we found Robin there in Olympia, and my wife said, hey, let's go check this out. So initially we had lunch with Robin and got to know him, and lo and behold, there's other people that have come to the same understanding that we now have. So I don't know if Lori would like to share anything or not.
Oh, I could go on, but I was telling Anthony what a thrill that was, like 10 years ago, to find in this old stinky, musty used bookstore in the religious section, which I was drift to, and there it is, the Trinity, Doctrine of the Trinity. It jumped right out at me.
Self-inflicted wound.
Oh my gosh, it was so meaty and good. And I told him we finally put a binder on because it was falling apart by the time we got done with it. And we'd take like days mulling over just little bits. It took us a long time to get through that. It was like I said, pot roast. I mean, it was so good. And we enjoyed it so much. So really that little encounter with that book in Port Townsend with some girlfriends, it really began to change our lives because we always had that question. And I was a pastor's secretary in a large 2,000 people AG church. And when I first got saved, you got to sign the bottom line. Do you believe this, and this? And what did I know? Sure. And so fill your head with stuff as a baby, and you just buy it for, for us, most of our Christian life. How pathetic. And so, anyway, I'm just so grateful to be able to, when we met Robin, I just told Kenny, oh, how exciting. I'm just so glad to meet someone else who makes sense of the Word of God. And
I just kept my mouth shut and let you talk.
Anyway.
You did a lot better.
Why expose it, huh?
Yeah, that's right.
It was a joy, so we're just so thankful to be here today, and we've never been, I play the fiddle, so I have played in this center, Scandinavian music, with this little band I play with, and we've played here before. It's like a,
You gonna play today?
are you kidding? No way.
Who get you?
Oh, I didn't bring it, but I will sometime. I love the old
We're going to have to exploit that.
Well, you know, I got to thank Anthony, you know, for his pursuit of the truth and putting it down in books so that others can absorb his time and energy that he's put into study and explaining it in a manner that that one can understand, and the clarity that he brings. Just thank you for that.
Appreciate that.
I've got a couple of his books there on the counter too, if you haven't read those yet. Okay, Mark.
So my name is Marcus Atkins. I'm from Portland, Oregon. I grew up as one of Jehovah's Witnesses. Roughly 4 or 5 years ago, I was running into some, I'll just say, functional issues having to deal with. There's a tremendous amount of legalism in the org. I mean, you're told how to groom your hair, how to groom your face, how to dress, what you can celebrate, who you can associate with, what you can watch. I mean, it goes on and on and on and on and on. And sometimes, at some point, it can be the straw that breaks the camel's back, and you start to question, well, where did this come from? And I'm the type of person like Robin, you know, we're very similar. We're not interested in the leaves, because you can cut leaves all day long and they'll just keep coming. We trace all the way to the root. And it was mind-blowing. It was devastating. I mean, it would be like being told one day your parents aren't your parents. I mean, I'm talking about sleepless nights. Sometimes literally pulling the car over on the side of the freeway, just going, you know, and you're questioning yourself. My study partner was on the same journey as I did. And this is very typical for people who leave a system where I use the term of, they create a moral exoskeleton. If you do this, you get in trouble. You did it. Well, once that external guidance is gone, a lot of people just go nuts. I mean, my study partner is now divorced, lives a promiscuous life, drugs, partying.
So sad.
Yeah, he got a form of freedom.
Yeah.
I knew I didn't want that for myself, and you know, I've got kids and a wife, so I had to prayerfully use wisdom. So we just started studying the Bible outside of the mounds and mounds and mounds and mounds and mounds of literature, just this, because apparently sanctify them by means of the truth, not your words, plural, but your word is true. And I put faith in that, and that's what we did. A lot of people that get stumbled out of an organization then think that all organization is bad. It's like when someone is abused by someone of another race, well, then everybody of that race must be bad. I don't believe that. Christ and his 12 apostles, they were an organization, they were a congregation. So I wanted to look for a group that, you know, I'm never going to believe the Trinity, never going to believe the immortality of the soul. I've studied that to its root. I could argue the Pope on the Trinity would do it publicly. So I'm very glad to be here. I think we're kind of like the Rebel Alliance. I'm getting prepped for Star Wars. Sorry.
Exactly.
So I'm glad to be here amongst spiritual brothers and sisters of like mind.
Wow.
Great. And then, of course, your kids, Maya.
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah. Maya's 19, Isaac's 15, and
All right.
we're all making this transition.
Good
My
kids.
wife is working, unfortunately.
Good upstanding kids. Really enjoy having them. Yes. First time?
Yeah, this is my very first day here. Never been to any other church outside of the Kingdom Hall. I was raised one of Jehovah's Witnesses. And I'm 45, all my life.
Wow.
But I wasn't just raised a witness. I was 110% witness. I was known as Jeter. in the Watchtower. I served as an elder, and a deacon, and I did comp for 25 years, gave talks to thousands of people, Bible talks. But it's really sad. If I get a little bit emotional, it's funny because when you learn the truth of the Watchtower, it rips your soul out. I mean, I'm a drywall finisher, and I was working by myself in Yelm, Washington. It was raining, it was so depressing. I usually work by myself. I'd pick up my tools to work, and I couldn't even work for 10 minutes. I'd have to sit on a bucket. Here I'm 45 years old, and I had to sit on a bucket and cry like a baby. Because all those years of betrayal, you know, I was so depressed, and I sat there and I thought, I know why people kill themselves. There are hotlines for witnesses, ex-witnesses, because many of them do. A lot of them kill themselves. I've already read stories about this. But I'd go outside, look up, and think, you know, what is my place in God's arrangement? Why am I here? What's the purpose of life? Does God have an organization? All these kind of questions raced through my mind for like 3 months. So I had to let the dust settle. I just went online, and it's like I told Anthony, this saved my life. This little smartphone allowed me to do all the research in the world. And I learned more of the truth of the Watchtower. My original reasons, though, for being depressed and crying like that is because I started to read, for good reasons, I read the history of the Watchtower. And then I found out that they lied about their history. Never knew that. So I just went home, and I'm not going to take all your time. I'm just going to, just this one scripture is what saved me. And if you apply it to the Watchtower, it makes perfect sense. Jeremiah 17:5. It says, "Thus says Yahweh, cursed is the man who trusts in man and makes flesh his arm, and whose heart departs from Yahweh." With hindsight, I can see that my depression, my tears, was the curse from putting my trust in men. Whether it was intentional or not, doesn't matter. I received the curse. But then it says, "and whose heart departs from Yahweh." 90% of witnesses become atheists. That is a fact. Wow. Why? Because they put their trust in men, and then immediately their heart departs from Yahweh. But here's the point that hit me a few days later. It says, "For he shall be like the heath in the desert, and shall not see when good comes, but shall inhabit the parched places in the wilderness, a salt land and not inhabited." So it says, and he shall not see when good comes. What is the good that came? I was free from the Watchtower. But so many don't see that. They become an atheist. So did I see it? I seen it. And for that reason, I'm not like that plant in the desert. And I was able to escape the curse. So my friend introduced me to a few thoughts from the Restoration Fellowship site. And I wasn't ready for it at first, you know what I'm saying? But as the months went by, I was putting together my own religion. But all the main truths of the Watchtower, I could not escape. They don't believe in Trinity, with the dead, and all this stuff. And then I found the Restoration site. Whoa, this is like the Watchtower, stripped of all baggage and misery. In fact, I sent a link to my mom this morning, because my mom has kind of abandoned me, even though I'm not this fellowship as a witness. All my friends and family. I sent her this link. I said, "See, the Watchtower's lying. They're not the only ones who teach these truths." Anyway, long story. I'm sorry.
Maybe we could be new friends. Glad to have you as our friend now.
It's really nice.
Well, these stories are as good as any sermon that we could possibly give.
Amazing.
Gary.
My name's Gary Nichols. I was fortunate. I've been raised in the church. Go back to my grandparents on both sides of the family, which goes on quite with that. And it's quite comforting to have so many here sharing the same faith. Because I've lived here for a number of years with hardly anyone that I could reach out to or talk to, except when I actually casual. This is my daughter Josie, and I'll let her take on from there.
Well, you pretty much hit all the big stuff. I was born and raised never really went to church. There wasn't one to go to, so it was kind of always in the background, but it really formed a foundation for my moral fiber, and I'm very thankful that I got that introduction and that education from my dad. We have family out in the Kashmir Church and Wenatchee Church. I got baptized out there, so we do have lots of connections, but we don't get to see them very much. So it's great to have this group. We're very thankful.
Great.
I just stopped there for a minute, just, really express how important it is that we do gather together. I know in this day and age it's easy to be individuals, and it's a high-tech world we live in and we're all busy, but the Bible does talk about, encouraging one another and not ceasing to assemble together as we see the day approaching. I think a lot too about what it says in John 11 where Jesus died. It says they're to gather together the children of God who are scattered abroad. And why is that? So that we can learn to be a team. We can be a team under Jesus. Now we're training to work with him and under him in the age to come. And I think he wants us to appreciate, more than appreciate, really want, maybe even insist, I don't know, thus to get together and learn to function with our gifts in a team environment like this. And then, of course, to, as you mentioned, to encourage each other with our presence. And just to know that there's others like us out there is very comforting. It is for me. So anyway, just want to throw that out there. A little plug for our group to continue to make the effort to get up in the morning. I know it can be hard, we work hard, but get up and get down there and share our experiences and our faith, and so we can be very strong and make it across that finish line in a very strong sort of way. So, Kim, the stage is yours.
I'm Kim Mott. I'm married to Terry, related to Kevin and Cindy, my brother and sister-in-law, my 2 kids. I've grown up in the Church of God. My parents grew up in the Church of God in Minnesota. That's where we were raised. And I don't know how we ended up here. It just did. I mean, I've moved 36 times in my life, and how to end up here, I don't know. But God has wanted me here. My husband and I have had Bible studies in our home for about 5 years, but this last year, Terry had an illness with cancer, and we've been kind of fighting that, and the Lord has been testing us and trying us and putting us through the fire, so to speak. And let me tell you, if you don't have roots in the Lord, if you don't have anything to hope for, sometimes the trials that we face in this world are so hard. And I can see, my friends are looking at the situation going, death could be a good solution here. But praise God that he is faithful to us. He brings us through to the end because he knows that by allowing these trials to happen, he's purifying us. He's creating this perfection that he wants us to share with others and to have the grace and mercy to share with others, because this life, this world is not a pretty place. It's pretty ugly, and God sees this. He needs us to be his light. He needs us to shine in a dark world, because it's not a very pretty place at all. Wow. So even though I've been raised in the Church of God since I can remember, 8 years old, praying that prayer of faith myself and giving myself to the Lord at 8 years old, just like he did. Let me tell you, God, like Robin was saying, you have to get to the finish line. So whatever it takes to get there, we have to help each other, because at any time, any one of us could fall. And we just have to be there for each other, because it's going to get hard and it's going to get difficult, and we need each other even more now.
And I have to give kudos too, a little extra kudos too, for those who don't know Kim and Terry. They've had Bible studies at their house for a couple decades, I think now, when there was no other place to go. And so, we're just sort of, this effort here is sort of kind of picking up where they've been in a way. trying to expand on that work. So thanks very much, you guys, for hanging in there. Hopefully we could be there for you for a while too. So anyway, well, fantastic. That's just, I can't believe it. Now, one other thing I wanted to do was Doug and his boys introduced themselves earlier, but they got a little skit that they want to do, or Doug wants them to do for you. So
You guys said yes. Come on. I took you to Five Guys last night. Come on.
Come on, guys.
It doesn't get any easier. They don't want your eyeballs on their back. Okay, so we're driving here, and they go to Lutheran school, so all of a sudden now they're thinking about the nature of God and stuff because they're getting taught some pretty bizarre stuff. But it's a good school, but odd doctrine. So anyhow, we just came up with this little thing on the way. We were just bantering back and forth. So this is interactive. So I'd like you guys to interact when you deem it appropriate. Okay.
That's great.
Do the Jews believe in a triune God? Okay, that would be time for you guys to respond, all right? Okay, let's try that again. We'll start over here. Do the Jews believe in a triune God? No. That was great improvement, but not very enthusiastic. So just, you don't have to stand up, but just like you really mean it. This is serious. Like,
Okay. Gotcha.
we're preaching this to the world, right? Okay. Do the Jews believe in a triune God?
No! Could you repeat the question?
Was Jesus a Jew?
Yes!
Did Jesus believe in a triune God?
No!
Does a Christian follow the beliefs and teachings of Jesus?
Yes!
Should a Christian believe in a triune God?
No!
We don't have to kick anybody out. They can all stay.
See, this happens all the time around here. You don't want to miss that. You got to come and catch that. And of course, the fact that we don't believe in a triune God on the other side of the coin gives us the great information about who Jesus is. We gain our identity from Jesus, the man, the Messiah. And we have no identity, really, if he's a part, member of the Godhead. So, and that's just a real simple fact. But we could go into that for hours, couldn't we? So, anyway, so at this time, I guess it'd be a good time. Let's see, 11 o'clock. Anthony, did you want to speak a little bit? Now you want to break. What do you think we should do?
No, if you
go ahead. You're all pumped up now, aren't you?
Yeah.
All right. So Anthony Buzzard is you all know him, and he is a father. Carlos said, I think it was Carlos who said that. No, somebody else. That he's a father to a lot of people in the faith. Father in the faith. To me, he's a tremendous mentor to a lot of people, including me. I look up to him as the supreme apostle. No, he hates that. He hates that. Those titles. I'm just kidding. It's a private joke. So it's a fun thing to joke about, because some folks like to be known as apostles. I don't know if you've noticed that on TV and so forth. But anyway, I appreciate the fact that Anthony's the scholar, Bible scholar that he is, the linguist that he is, and yet a humble guy who just wants to share what he's learned through all his studies with folks like us, with little guys like me. Anthony Buzzard, how about a big round?
Okay. There are a lot of God things happening this morning. I mean, that skit, you see, is exactly what we've been working at intensively for the last 2 months. Do Christians believe in the Shema? The answer is they don't. Did Jesus believe in the Shema? Yes, he did. All right, how about this from one of the leading commentaries, the Wood Biblical Commentary, state-of-the-art in evangelical scholarship, says that the creed of Jesus, the Shema, as it should be, is not particularly Christian or spectacular, or remarkable. Let me get the quote exactly right. That Mark, you all know what it is. Mark 12, 29. Mark 12, 29. Spend the rest of your ministries working on that in connection with Psalm 110:1, and you've got this thing solved. It's just phenomenal. So that Word Bible commentary says, the Shema, Mark 12, 29, is not remarkable and not specifically Christian. Think about that. You're shaking your head. Isn't that amazing? You see what that tells us? Christians actually don't believe in Jesus. They really don't. Oh, they've accepted him in their heart, whatever that means. They believe he died and rose. That's all fine, I see that. But they actually, when you get down to it, don't believe in the teachings of Jesus. So a friend of ours at Florida University, what was that, Richard Hyers said, I've got this at the top of one of my chapters, people of Christian persuasion generally do not care much about what Jesus did or said in his time. Live with that. Isn't that interesting? It'll help you to understand these people, the people you're trying to help. So the art then is to believe what Jesus said. And here you are reciting the Shema. We've started doing that too. Not a ritual. You can do it in Hebrew. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Now Jesus was asked 3 questions on that, I think Tuesday or Wednesday. You can check it out, either Tuesday or Wednesday before he died, on a Friday. He was asked 3 important questions. I'm in Mark 12 now, first of all. Mark 12, which is probably the teaching of Peter, you know that. Tradition, may well be. Mark is reflecting what he'd heard Jesus and Peter doing, what he'd heard Peter doing. So he's getting this right. And in Mark 12, a chapter that you just know like the back of your hand, you talk about it at the supermarket, when you get up in the morning, as it says in Deuteronomy, when you go to sleep. Now this is what you have got to be obsessed with and taken with. And in that chapter, Mark 12, he's asked 3 questions. He's asked about the coin, right? We're going to do this for Caesar, what are we doing for God? You know the question. Handles that rather well. Jesus is a brilliant rabbi. He's a Mozart of theology, right? At 12, he's making these PhDs look silly. You don't think of Jesus that way, but the public does not. Oh, he died for my... I shouldn't mock that. He died for my sin. I believe that. He rose from the dead. I believe that with a passion, but that's not all there is to it. So here he is being confronted by the religious authorities. They're your enemy, by the way. If you can keep people out of the church, you're doing well. Once you lose them in church, then you've got to deprogram, and that's a hard job. He's asked a question about Caesar, and he deals with that rather well. Then what's the next question? A silly question from the Sadducees, who didn't believe in the resurrection. It's pretty bad, isn't it? Silly question. Okay, so this man's been married, the woman's been married all these times. Whose wife? Silly. So he simply said, I'd love to know the tone of voice. Did he shriek at them? I don't think so. Was he always gentle and meek and mild? More or less, yes. But I think he probably got rather agitated and said, you are much mistaken because you don't know the Scriptures or the power of God. So knowing the Scriptures is very important, right? So a lot of the verses I'll throw out at you in this session here will be ones that we use all the time on the internet. 2.5 billion people out there. They don't know nothing about nothing. And I didn't either in the Church of England. So here's my story before I do the 3rd question there. Mark 12, I was a CLE boy. You know your acronyms, I hope, SDAs? Seventh Day Adventists. CLE, Church of England. UPC, United Pentecostal Church. There are a mere 30,000, they say, denominations in the world. It doesn't sound like Paul in 1 Corinthians 1, where he says, I want you all to be of one mind, one judgment, perfectly united. So where have we got to? Something's gone wrong, right? And you guys are the ones going to put this right, person by person. So there then we have the scene in the CLE. We went to church and we sang beautiful hymns. Oh God, our happy nations far, with the organ and all that fantastic pictures from the wall. My brother and I, one day Mrs. Patrick sang, I know that my Redeemer, and she sang it badly. Tim was, my brother, tragically has Alzheimer's now, but he was a very fine pianist, professional pianist. We were sitting in the front row. And Mrs. Patrick, I mean, she sang this very badly. It was all over the place, you know, a warbling, out of control soprano voice. And we could not contain ourselves. You can imagine that, right? We just absolutely could not. We got rebuked up there. Anyway, we go home for lunch. we go home for lunch, which was roast potatoes and lamb on a Sunday and Brussels sprouts. Generally. The building had been there since 1100. The name of the clergy had been there for several hundred years, half a millennium. But did we know anything about the Bible? So in England, I do a lot of public speaking, so you've heard these lines sometimes before, they trot out, these lines do. We went to Brits go, at 95% of them in England go to church to be hatched. You know how it goes. Matched, dispatched. Come to America rather, the USA, this amazing nation, incredible place, you said it earlier. The freedom we're enjoying here is something to rejoice in, it's amazing. And if it isn't a McDonald's, it's a church. Everything is a Bible bookstore. Or a Bible this and a Bible that. It's incredible. You're very tremendously Bible-oriented in some way. So I'm coming out of that CB where we didn't know nothing about nothing. That's my Georgian. We didn't know. Couldn't have engaged you in any conversation about the Bible, period. My dad, who was a smart guy in one way, he was director of naval intelligence at 49. So he had a knack of putting his finger on the issues. You know, we all inherit something from our parents. And he later regretted, because I'll tell you the next stage in my story, was Armstrong, Herbert W. Armstrong of the World, that's my retroflect R, the Worldwide Church of God. And into this, my story is naively simple, stupidly simple, pathetically simple. Into that vacuum of ignorance, which I don't recommend to your children, don't let them be ignorant. Into that vacuum of ignorance came the stentorian voice of Herbert W. Armstrong on The World Tomorrow on Radio Luxembourg, 1957, 56. I hadn't had flu at the time. My parents said later, we had flu at the time. It was finally got to it. Wasn't it? They tried to find ways around it. I was telling my parents loved us to the death. And my poor dad had to put up with this idiot, this arrogant idiot, joining the Worldwide Church of God. Very tough on them, right? And I wish that on any of you as parents. But his simple message was this: the kingdom of God's coming. What? Dad was involved with the World Council of Churches trying to get the Arabs not to kill the Jews. That was what he did. He had a theory of graduated deterrence. In other words, you threaten people with an H-bomb, it's not really a real threat, so you threaten them with something more reasonable. That was his theory. He dealt with the Church of England. The bishops came to our house with their various robes and so on. So this is what was talked about at mealtime. And Herbert Armstrong said something about the kingdom of God. And I saw Isaiah 2, and that stays with me. Isaiah 2, you know it well. The day is coming when you will not be able to build a tank. If you pick up a gun to shoot your neighbor, sit down, stop it. You can't do that now. You can't stop it. So Dad was struggling to get people not to kill each other. It sounds like a good idea to me. I mean, killing each other is absolutely obscene, isn't it? For any nation to say we want to wipe another nation off the face. I mean, this is absolutely obscene. I'd like to take that as if, wait a minute, sit down. You're in charge of a whole nation. You get up and threaten the death of another. I mean, it's absurd. Ridiculous. So that's why I started. Isaiah 2. The days are coming. The Acharita Yamim. At the end of the times. At the last phase of history. The time is coming when they're going to beat their swords into plowshares. And how did they do it at the Obama prayer? It was a good thing from the clergyman. He said something about beat their tanks into toys. Do you remember that? That's right. That's wonderful. So into the vacuum of my ignorance, again, this is for your children and yourself, do not remain ignorant. Let me throw in a verse here, Isaiah 53:11. Nobody uses it. Isaiah 53:11 says, by his knowledge, talking of Jesus, my righteous servant, by his knowledge, please get it, he makes many right rather than wrong. That awful word righteous simply means you're right rather than wrong. Justified, you do that with your margin, right? Straight rather than crooked, right rather than wrong. By his knowledge, oh, you're not going to hear that preached. It's all about the death and resurrection of Jesus. That's not wrong, it's only half the story. So by his knowledge, so we need the knowledge of Jesus and the apostles and the Bible. Very much so. Okay, so with that vision of the kingdom, now here comes the trick. Herbert said, well, wait a minute. Didn't Jesus say, why do you call me Kyrie, Kyrie, Lord, Lord, and you will not do what I say? Well, I'm the son of an animal, so, we're supposed to do what we're told. Basically did quite well, except one time my brother and I cut the tires of the bicycle of the lady who was working for us. We got spanked hard for that. Awful thing to do. How cruel. Why do you call me Kyrie, Kyrie, Lord, Lord, and you will not do what I say? That's brilliant. John's, what is it, Luke 6:46, I think. So with that in mind, Herbert said, wait a minute, 10 Commandments. Oh, 10 Commandments. I don't know what they were. I knew it was somewhere. I looked it up. I found it in Exodus 20, I believe. Deuteronomy, somewhere. And then Herbert said, what about the fourth one? Watch out now. Here comes the trick. It says you want to keep the Sabbath or die, right? You pick up 6 on Friday evening, you're dead. That's my Georgia. Dead. What? Isn't that amazing? And I'm not. Probably rather like that for Robin too. You see how that trick worked? I didn't know what I now understand. That's the Old Covenant, actually. The 10 Commandments are the heart of the Old Covenant, the Old Covenant. And now you're in the spirit of the New Covenant. Doesn't mean you can commit adultery. We know that. That's gone even higher. You mustn't hate. You mustn't lust. We see that. But what do you do with the Sabbath? Well, I was nodding. Now that changed my life. Dad used to say, and he knew better than I, the Sabbath is chicken feed. You know, whether you go to church on Sunday, Saturday, it's chicken. It was his way of saying it doesn't really matter. He was actually much righter than I was. So I then left for California after finishing my degree at Oxford, thankful, because that later enabled me to earn a living after coming out of Armstrong. So I disappeared after getting my degree in languages. One thing I do with fun is language. I'm hopeless in geography. I haven't got a clue where we are. We're somewhere up there or over there or down. I don't know. Playing God. The pilots seem to know where we go. Who cares? He knows. I don't need to know that. Geography, very bad. History, terribly bad. I mean, they talked about the flag the other day. What's that? The Confederate. What in the world? We didn't learn that. But who's fussing about a flag? I mean, didn't do history. I didn't care which queen married his family to another country. I mean, who cares in your shop? Very bad in history. But had a knack for language and music. And my brother was a professional pianist. So music and language was the thing we did. So language has been useful to me because later I was able to go to the University of Jerusalem, that's the Hebrew University, and did a course there. And this was a God thing. The lady who did conversational Hebrew with me, and I don't speak Hebrew now, I don't use it, but she happened to be the daughter of the man who introduced Hebrew to the whole of Israel, a guy called Ben Yehuda, and the streets are named after him. He said, we need a language in Israel. Fascinating bit of history. He went on family to family and introduced modern Hebrew. That's amazing. So it happened to be his daughter that I did some conversation with. Anyway, got some Hebrew there, then did some Greek at London University, and then eventually came out of the Armstrong movement after 14 years. This story is interesting because your stories are absolutely fascinating. I mean, you need plenty of Kleenex as they come. I mean, I so relate to the emotion that was expressed there. It is quite extraordinary what God is doing. He must love an epic. God must love an epic, a drama, because his stories are enough to fill the world of books. Anyway, so the Armstrong thing lasted 14 years. This idiot here was in there sincerely, but you know, most people are sincere. There aren't a lot of people who get up in the morning as preachers and say, I'll deceive those people today. They mostly don't do that. Some of them get carried away with ideas of having jets. You know, what's the problem here? Don't let him get a $49 million jet. I'm talking about somebody down in Georgia. Robin is well tested.
So you have an offering box by
$49 million. Don't go there.
Very small.
So 14 years later, then my wife, Barbara, had come into the Armstrong movement. She was in the University of Michigan, and her story was very briefly, it was like this. The clergyman who spoke to her on Monday said that what he did on Sunday was quite different from Monday. Was he believed in God on Sunday, but on Monday he wasn't sure. She said, what? That doesn't sound honest. I like the word. It wasn't transparent. Right? So she came to England looking for better things and got a job. And then her uncle, Bill, was manager of Chrysler over there. And happened to be in the proximity of the Armstrong College. There was an ambassador college in England. Very wealthy place. Because we had 3 tithes. We paid a tenth of the gross income. And then the second tithe was keeping the peace. We kept the peace. You paid us. We were doing all this other stuff. We were keeping the peace. And we were meeting on Saturday. You paid us. We were meeting on Sundays and all that stuff. And this idiot believed it. Into that vacuum, and God was working, I can see that, although it didn't seem like it at the time, because it just practically destroyed me. Dad picked up what was left of me, came back to the States, and then I joined the Armstrong thing the second time, went to the English college. I mean, this is next year, shaking it. That was an awful life, but I understand the cult mentality. I understand what it's like to have been told that you must speak in tongues or you're not saved at all, period. We were meeting people like this all the time. I understand the mentality that says you don't get baptized into the watchtower, you ain't going nowhere fast. I mean, that's really awfully tragic. In parentheses, I see marvelous leadership here, by the way. You've got some wonderfully articulate people, you're all articulate, but you've got people who are developing, I think, into marvelous leaders, because we do need some organization, heaven forbid. But you want to be disorganized? Is that what you want? You want to be organized? You want to be disorganized? No. I see what they're saying. I hate organizations in that sense, but you do have to have some sort of organization. Even somebody put the Kleenex out when you come in. It's got to be organized. Okay, so Barbara's over there, and her Uncle Bill is going to church, gets up on a Saturday. And the glossy magazine was on the coffee table, because we had money. Second tithe. Third tithe was kept for the poor saints. Every third year, you kept the third tithe for the poor saints. Well, actually went to the Jets and the Armstrongs. So he was going to church on Saturday. So Barbara said, this is pretty interesting. She got hooked too. Only for 2 years. This idiot was in 14 years. Barbara was in for 2 years. And then all of the horrific sexual aberrations began to, we didn't know that. But briefly, watch out. These cults are not the pure thing that they appear to be. So we had to come out to save, we didn't have any reputation to save, particularly we had to come out after 14 years. And she came out too. She was, by the way, the blonde in front row of the French class. She doesn't try to get permission to tell the story. And I'm writing French on board here, and I can't do it because my heart's pounding and my hand's shaking. I couldn't live. Anyway. So we talked on Monday morning. Those of you know French. Qu'est-ce que tu as fait au weekend? What have you done at the weekend? She'd been out with the teacher, right? So we had to get permission to hold hands. Oh, yeah. We did things properly. It's my story, I'm sticking to it. We came out in 1972. We began to get our eyes open. And I can say this in a non-Sabbatarian environment here. It was because of the Shabbat rule. I began to see Colossians 2:16. Now the language has helped me, knowing the Greek, but Colossians 2:16, 17 is very difficult to explain what Paul says there. Don't let anybody tell you what to do. Nobody's to judge you in the matter of food and drink, or in Sabbath, holy days, new moons. That's the calendar, all of it. So the new moons are equal with the weekly and the annual Sabbath. See that? Brilliant. Paul is brilliant. He's very radical. Paul is fearfully radical when he says in Galatians, which is a book we didn't do. We didn't do Galatians. That wasn't part of what we did. Because it is an impassioned tirade along the lines of what I'm giving you now. He says, don't let anybody judge you in the matter of, and we twisted the Greek. We said the Greek there is en meri, which means in part of. So it must mean don't let anybody judge you in part of that Sabbath, not the Sabbath itself. Crooked, right? I want to tell you that evil is intentional and aggressive and plays on words. And the public ain't too smart in this area. We're all just terribly gullible. So when we saw that, we said, my goodness, my whole pack of cards is falling, and it was. We came out in 1972. I think the story is interesting. All of these stories are fascinating because they bear on your future and past experience with other groups. Came out, then what do you do? This is 1972. We first got wind of the awful things that were going on at the top and the abuse. But we had the truth, and you pagans were all resting on Sunday. Come on now. You pagans. We were lied to with our own compliance. I mean, we weren't too smart. So then you say, what am I going to do now? I remember for 3 weeks, we didn't even believe that the dead were dead. I've always believed that since Armstrong days. It's a beautiful, that's the doctrine of CI, conditional immortality. Beautiful doctrine. The soul is mortal. But for 3 weeks we were so desperate, our whole guru thing had fallen. We were shattered, and we're saying, now what do we do next? It was a very difficult 3 weeks. We had a couple of minor car accidents, almost, I don't know that God was doing it deliberately, but we were run into in car parks, minor car, and then I got car totaled for the first time in my life, thankfully. Was God waking us up and saying, it ain't over yet, we've got some more to do here. So we were on our knees a lot saying, oh God, what can we do with the rest of our careers? Because I was 40-something by this time. 14 years in the Armstrong, right? That was a long time. But I know what it's like. Anyway, came out of that, and then we prayed hard. Okay, let's try all these denominations. So in England, it isn't like McDonald's and churches, right? You haven't got a choice, a smorgasbord of different churches to go to. You've basically got the CV, Church of England. You've got the Baptists, without their southern accent, the Baptists. And you've got a few charismatics. And I've been there. It doesn't mean I'm right. It may be wrong. I'm still listening. You point to a flaw in the logic here, you point it out. You tried. The charismatic went to tent meetings, people tried to push us over, didn't seem to work. And the local pastor had his teeth filled miraculously by gold. Now that's spectacular. Incredible. Religion is quite funny in some ways. Okay, so then we tried other groups. What was there else than that? Sarah was this high. Oh, the Christadelphians, you should know about them. Christadelphians, founded by John Thomas, a British guy who came to America, and he said, if I get safely on my ship to America, I'm going to find out what the Bible says. I'm going to do it. People do that. And it wasn't wrong. He did fairly well, but he did make a mistake on the devil, I have to tell you. And a colossal mistake, because he has the serpent, who is the devil, being non-morally responsible. Here are your lessons for talking to CDs. Right? You say, wait a minute. In Genesis, it says that the serpent, who turns out to be the devil, lied. Oh no, said John Thomas. That animal was a non-morally responsible animal. Well, who did the lying? You get it? Blasphemy. Terribly bad. But they did believe in the kingdom. And so we had two issues. One was, they came to our house and they happened to be the troubleshooters for the whole CD movement across the world. It was like in Watford in England where we were at that time. They came to our house, Sarah won't remember this, but she was this high. And they had two issues. Actually, first of all, your God the Son thing is wrong. We believe in two gods in the God family, right? We weren't Trinitarians, we were two gods in the God family. I can hardly say it now. What? Two gods in the God family? That's what we believe. We were binitarians with a vengeance. We really believed that. So they said, there are two things wrong with your system. One is you believe in this pre-existing God the Son. I said, sure I do. Well, the rock that followed, come on. The rock, I was as obnoxious then as I am now. The rock that followed them was Christ. What part of Christ don't you understand? I said. I remember it on the phone. So these aha moments, these God moments in your life, remember them. And the guy said, the Christadelphian said, well, no, that was symbolic language. That was actually typological language. He was right. He was way ahead of me in good form of sophistication. He'd read there that Paul says, I'm speaking typically. I'm talking about being baptized in the sea, well, not literally. I'm talking about being baptized in the cloud, not literally. I was not sophisticated enough to do that. But gradually, because God was working with us after a period of 2 years, we saw that. Now we were totally unmarketable. Right? Went to Baptist church. Once we said we believe the dead were dead, please answer me. I answer Bobby, we like you, nice people, but don't come back. I got the letters from my mom. Stay away. We don't want you. What is this? Then when we got this devil thing, go with the Christadelphians, we couldn't go to them. They would not have us in fellowship believing there's a devil, because that's the second God, they said. Now we are totally, absolutely unmarketable. I mean, we're just completely lone souls. We don't know if there's anybody else on the earth that believed the incredible things we thought were right. Sleep of the dead. We tried the charismatic thing. I want you to know that, because people say, oh, he's just very British. He doesn't get this, all that stuff. Well, if you speak to me, do you know German, actually? Do you know German? No. If you speak to me in German fluently now, I'm going to believe it. It's a miracle. But I don't find that kind of evidence. I did this in a Minnesota meeting. I said to the man here, now, if you speak to me in German fluently, I'll believe it's a miracle, right? So he did. He spoke fluently in German. He'd been there for 2 years. That was fun. But Paul did say this is a sign to unbelievers. I don't intend to step on any toes. I may have got this wrong. You can correct me. But Paul did say, what's the point of languages? And these are really languages. What's the point of it? A sign to unbelievers. What? In your closet? Nobody ever knows what you've said? You don't know what you've said? I don't think so. That doesn't convince me. And the gold teeth didn't impress me. And then I've met people from the Benny Hinn movement who came out, and the guy who worked closely with Benny Hinn, and he said, for what it's worth, he became disillusioned, and he said, that's Kundalini demonic And some of it may well be. So go easy. I don't know how that works exactly, but I have the impression that if you're saying things in your prayer closet endlessly, without ever knowing what is said, you might want to possibly examine it. That's a little bit of a challenge. So here we are then, completely without a church. So we went back to the Church of England, and they preached a 10-minute sermon on going to heaven. And the red carpet treatment, very nice. They'll bring you bread during the next week. They'll bring you bread to your home. We love you to pieces once you come back. But the sermon didn't make any sense because the dead, as far as I understood it, were dead. That's enjoyed the dead were dead. They love that. Wakes them up after lunch. I love that. You only need 3 verses for that. Ecclesiastes 9:5, you know. It's what you do with your on that subject. The dead know nothing at all. There's no knowledge in Sheol, the grave, where you're going. Period. Let's argue about it. Let's not. I'm tired of arguing. That's very easy, isn't it? The dead know nothing at all. There's no activity or praising God. There are endless verses. We've got at our website, it's free stuff. What's it called, sir? War of the Dead or something? What happens when you die? What happens when you die? But you know this stuff. I don't need that. So there we are then, with no church to go. Tried the Charismatics, tried the Baptists. Charismatics were interesting. I'm probably being a little unfair here, and I don't mean to insult anybody, but some of the stuff they came up with. This lady had a vision about a coat hanger. I remember that well. She's on about a coat hanger vision. You know, what does it mean? Well, there's more to her than to me. So we couldn't quite take that. So now we are without church. So we prayed. We said, oh God, I was 45 or so. Got the rest of our careers. What are we going to do with this? Meanwhile, and God will do this in your life, you have a real downtime, let's say, a really difficult time. He perhaps pulls you up with some good thing will happen. Have you noticed that? I think that happens. So I got the best language teaching job in the world in your American school in London. That was for all your oil magnates and your ambassadors' children. They wanted 12th grade